Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News, and after the huge move of a few days ago where Shroud joins the Sentinels starting lineup for the LCQ, I was kind of thinking it was probably over for roster changes with the Sentinels team. That is not the case at all. Kanpeki is gone. Zellsis, formerly of version 1, is in the team. Is this a good change? Is this actually a sign of Sentinels taking their LCQ success rather seriously? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. First of all, Pearl, of course, new map in the game, going to arrive officially into the competitive queue, that being today. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Of course, Split, they've said, is going to be the map to make way, even though every single time Split has been played pretty much so far at Masters Copenhagen, it's been an absolute banger map and a banger series. Honestly, there's been so many great series so far, and it's only the group stages. We'll discuss a couple of them here in just a second, but yeah, Pearl will officially be in the competitive queue coming very soon indeed. I think it's a pretty decent map, but is it as good as Split? I think that's a question that might well be raised. Paybricks, of course, they're going to get an action by the time we actually get to the playoffs itself. I think their luggage failed to arrive or something, so they're going to get the luggage buff very soon indeed. Quick update as well from FPX. They do confirm going into their game yesterday that Saigetsu cannot get to the event as of yet. He hasn't quite got his visa as of yet, but they believe that that might be a possibility going into if they do qualify for the playoffs. Now they're bringing Cider into their team instead, and honestly I think Cider did a pretty respectable job in the team when it comes to how their match played out yesterday, right? And this was their game up against Xerxia. Xerxia, I think, will be kicking themselves for what happened in that game while there was some opportunities for them to close that out. But FPX, man, like, this is the thing. Even with Cider in the team and with Angel still as the IGL, like, they didn't look that comfortable all the time without Saigetsu, certainly one of their star players. But, I mean, yeah, FPX, man, they're just so good. And I think Angel as an IGL, I'll give them so much credit for being able to pull stuff like this off, bringing a sub into their team last minute and still taking down a very talented squad like Xerxia. Very impressive result for FPX. They do win the series. It was an absolute barn burner again. Like, so many of these series so far have just been ridiculously good. Like, FPX take down Xerxia 2-1. Game 1 buy-in was 14-12. Ascent was 13-9 in favour of Xerxia, and then 13-10 in the ends on the Haven to close out the series. So yeah, unbelievable series yet again. And there was another one just to follow it up, right? 2 series yesterday, 3 series going on today. This was Guild versus Crew to determine the first team to go through from the group stages to the playoffs. And Guild, man, obviously after taking down OpTic, they were kind of feeling it, but Crew had taken down Loud. And both of these teams seemed so similarly matched. Like, there was so many great moments. Like, this game one as well goes to overtime, and in the end, it's Crew that take it down 1-0. Then it goes to a fracture though, and it's Guild that take this one down. Safe had some monster moments, and honestly, like, you've got to give credit to so many of the players on Guild, and even on of course, Crew as well. They made some great moments, but that final map, Russ was an absolute monster, right? It goes to Icebox, and Russ, I believe, was like, I don't know what he was, maybe statistically like 18 in 25 or something at one point, going kind of towards the overtime, but he was just taking gunfights, he was taking duels, he was just winning, like, he was just absolutely ice cold in that overtime. And honestly, I feel like Crew should certainly have won the final overtime here on Icebox. It goes all the way down to the wire. Like, in the end, Guild actually go 12-11 up. Crew tied up on match point and take it to overtime. And then Crew have like a golden chance to close it out on one of the overtimes. They throw away one of the rounds. And then Guild, I think after a couple more overtimes go through, Guild eventually close out an offense and win a defense as well. And oh well, that is job done. And Guild advance all the way through. So Crew are down there in the losers bracket with them. I mean, yeah, that's honestly insane for how this tournament is going to progress, because OpTic play Loud today, and then if they win that, or whoever wins that plays Crew again. So Loud could rematch against Crew for qualification, or it could be OpTic versus Crew, which is also going to be far from an easy series as well. So yeah, these were the overall series statistics. Like, I've got to give obviously credit to Trex and Leo, they took over, but Russ deserves some credit right here, because he's 32 and 54 over the series, and often when you look at the numbers here, you'll think, okay, nothing special with numbers like this, it was the star players that turned up, which is certainly true. But if you look at the Icebox right here, Russ was 8-1 in his first engagement, right? This guy was just taking duels on the, especially on the CT side, just getting picks, taking the life advantage of running away with it. So that was impressive from him, and of course the star players also delivered when required to. And Crew, great team still, but they're going to be down there in the losers bracket as well. Let's talk the Sentinels situation, right? Because a few days ago we saw that Shroud was joining the team, and I was like, what is going on here? Mind-blowing scenes. And Shroud actually showing that he knows a fair few lineups. Honestly, it was a very clean 3k actually right here on the Icebox as well. And there were some questions like, you know, how seriously are Sentinels taking this, right? They were talking to Shroud, they were talking to, even we saw Tarek say yesterday that they were talking to him about potentially joining the team, and therefore people were like, okay, are they really taking this seriously? Are they really trying to win? Or are they just here for the clout and trying to secure their franchise spot? But it does seem like that they really do believe in this LCQ run, that with a new roster, they can potentially do some serious damage. They certainly have the talent on their team. Whether they can put it together is another question mark. But again, Shroud's going to join the team as the controller. He's going to be the smokes player, and they seemingly needed kind of a new flex player on the team, because when Kanpeki first joined the lineup, there was a question to me as to whether he'd be the long-term player. I thought that honestly what they might try and do is keep Kanpeki in for the short term, and then once Sinatraa had done his kind of training or whatever, right, exactly we're going to make him do that apparently he's now done and he should therefore be good to go. I thought they were going to wait for that to be done and then bring Sinatraa into the team, but they might be kind of holding off on doing that because they don't want to maybe ruin relationships with Riot in regard to franchise stuff. They might not want to take the risk, right, because Sentinels are certainly thinking right now that Riot are considering partnership applications. If they bring in Sinatraa, the potential PR implications of that, like Riot might think, you know, oh, do we really want to work with these guys? Because it's always a bit dodgy if you're going to bring Sinatraa into your team. There's always going to be some backlash. So maybe they're going to wait for them actually to get the franchise spots. This would be an interesting idea, is that they wait till next season for Sentinels to have secured the franchise spots and then bring in Sinatraa and then be like, okay, well, at least we've got franchising now, so we can do what we want, which maybe is what they've wanted to do for some time, but don't want to take the risk. That's, of course, just theory crafting, but you guys, of course, can let your thoughts be known. But for now, Kanpeki's gone, and it's Zellsis in the team instead. Formerly a version 1, a crucial player to their success over the last year or so, but recently they've fallen off, right? And certainly an interesting, and I think, honestly, a rather good change for this team. I think Zellsis is an upgrade, and I think fits rather well, theoretically, with the rest of the roles on this team. So Sentinels say, you guys thought we were done. We've acquired Zellsis, still not verified, for the Sentinels roster, but I'm sure that will come in due course. So yeah, Zellsis joining the team. We did talk about some options, right? Zellsis is, I think, a player that I maybe browsed over briefly, but this, of course, was in replacement for Sick, not necessarily in replacement for Kanpeki, just because we thought, okay, minus Sick as the controller, they're going to need someone on smokes. Shroud, it turns out to be that guy, who, of course, does have plenty of raw ability, but not that much experience playing, well, Valorant, of course, on a level like this. Zellsis certainly does, and that maybe they just thought Kanpeki wasn't really cutting it. Like, look, Kanpeki wasn't particularly impressive, admittedly, in their challenger games, but neither was anyone, right? Even TenZ wasn't particularly impressive at times. So, like, it kind of feels bad for Kanpeki in a way, but maybe the team just felt he didn't really do enough. Often, I feel like when you're watching the games, Kanpeki would just disappear for a few rounds, like, you wouldn't really see him, he wouldn't really do anything, didn't really seem to have maybe the confidence to quite play, like, the way he needed to, in order to make an impression. So, not really sure, but they've got rid of him. Feels kind of bad for Kanpeki, but I do feel like Zellsis is an upgrade, and honestly, looking at their team on paper now, it's kind of nice, I can't lie. Whether it's actually good, I don't know, but it does at least show that they're trying, right? Because the big question was, after they brought Shroud in, like, okay, they're just doing this for clout, do they really care? But now they've made another move, it's like, okay, I'm going to second it. Maybe they actually are taking this seriously. So, as Zellsis says, I joined Sentinels today, want to thank everyone for the warm welcome, and to everyone who tuned in for the first Sentinels stream. Goes like, well, classic Sentinels stream, it means a lot. Thanks to the boys as well. So they'll be going to the bootcamp very soon indeed. First day of practice, says ShahZaM. ShahZaM, of course, in the middle. Shroud, dapr, Zellsis, and TenZ. That's going to be the team. So on paper, it's honestly kind of nice. I kind of like, the Shroud thing is such a wild card, but a two-man change here, changing up the dynamics, the team chemistry, the team structure, might honestly be a big deal for them. Zellsis has a lot of experience playing at a good level recently as well, so I feel like he's a good pickup. We'll look at the stats and the numbers here in a second. dapr, ShahZaM, and TenZ always should be a decent trio, and then Shroud, as I said, like, Shroud can either just be terrible, or he can actually do some really impressive things here on that controller role. So Zellsis, I guess, stepping into the kind of flex role that often Kanpeki was using at times, and honestly could be pretty valuable. As Raucus says, the coach of the team, love adding more flexibility to our roster. Zellsis, super underrated, adds so much value to our team. Can't wait to see the squad in action, so we'll see if this ends up being a good move, but I feel like it probably is on paper. Xander was actually another talking point on the version 1 side, just because people were wondering, okay, like, maybe they bring in Xander as the IGL, and ShahZaM isn't IGLing anymore, whatever. So, look, I'm still not sold personally on ShahZaM's IGLing, but you know, look, they're going to give it one more go. If it doesn't work out here, who knows what happens next year. I believe this change is only being made for the LCQ, and I guess champions if they qualify through the LCQ. Next season is such a difficult thing to call. People really have no idea what's going to happen next year, and that's the thing. So Zellsis, I believe, is only being signed effectively just for the LCQ, and so is Shroud. Next season could be a very different story. Of course, if they do get in the franchise league, which I'm sure they most certainly will, or the partnership league as it technically is being known, probably their roster might well be rather different, right? TenZ will still be there, like Sick might come back, and that's honestly the thing to look at, right? Like, Sentinels have so many players on their team. They've got, of course, their starting roster of Zellsis now, TenZ, ShahZaM, dapr, and Shroud, but then you could honestly build a bench team of, okay, you've got Sinatraa, you've got Zoms, Sick, Kanpeki, and Raucus, right? Like, you've got another 5-man team potentially on the bench there, if you wanted to make that happen. But there's been plenty of reaction, actually, because Zoms, of course, comes back with a goat emoji, and I do wonder if he's kind of feeling a bit bad here, right? Because Zoms asked the team, or told the team, that he's down to return if they need him, and that they've decided not to bring him back, which is pretty interesting. I'm sure he feels somewhat harshly done by here, because he got dropped initially, was then asked to come back briefly as a substitute, and now is effectively not getting picked up at all. So yeah, someone obviously has something against Zoms, or just doesn't feel like he's a good fit for the team right now. And even though there was some replies from Rob Moore here from the Sentinels side, we aren't done making announcements before bootcamp, stay tuned. So not just that they, of course, they've got the coach, they've got the 5-man team plus 4 more in reserve if if they need them, but also potential analysts coming in as well. So as they say, more announcements to come. They believe 1 or 2 analysts, so it does show they're taking it seriously, and hopefully they can convert that into an actual result when the LCQ does come around. And more than likely, they shall be playing Valin and the Guard team in the first round. That is currently the present rumor as to what the bracket is going to look like if it works like last year. The Guard #1 seed from the LCQ, Sentinels #8 seed from the LCQ. They'll probably be playing each other in that very first round. Wanted to look at some numbers actually here real quick. We'll look at past 90 days, for example, for Zellsis on the version 1 team. Definitely solid numbers here on the Raze, on the KO, on the Sage. Especially, I mean, the KD is very nice indeed. ACS numbers, very respectable. Definitely compared to when you look at Kanpeki's numbers, of course, if we look last 90 days or so. At last 90 days includes some stuff from a cruise. The last 60 days is generally just Sentinels. And yes, look, the team was getting fried. So, you can't really expect him to be dropping crazy numbers, but he occasionally would use the Chamber, the Sky, the KO. So with agents like this, I feel like Zellsis is probably a pure upgrade with more experience on this high level. So, I feel like it's a sensible move on the whole. And tweet your perspective on that one in the comment section below. But certainly we have to talk about this, right? The final thing we're going to mention in this video is that the games going on today. Loud versus OpTic, the rematch of the Champions final back in Reykjavik, when OpTic, of course, 3-0 Loud for the victory, as Ye tweeted out right here, is now a first round losers matchup. The loser goes home of the tournament already. This is the bracket. Guild officially qualified through to the bracket play. Crew await the winner of OpTic versus Loud. That plays today. And then in the other side of the bracket, FPX versus DRX happens today. And then Xerxes Northeption on the loser side as well. So I think I'm going to take DRX over FPX just about. I think I'm going to take Xerxes over Northeption in the loser's side. And then I think I probably have to favour OpTic over Loud again based on experience here. But I don't know, man. Loud is such a good team. It's going to be really tough for both of these squads to get it out. And they're absolutely going to need to. I think this is going to be another banger series, as we've seen many of them already so far in this tournament. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Tell us your YouTube gods. This is a good video. I don't like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Valorant community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you next time.